What's happening, people? I'm here with the main man.
It's the champ.
Make sure you tune into Pep Talk UK, where it talks boxing and
big up.
Thank you, AJ.
Pep Talk UK. It's time!
Everyone talk good game, but it don't really faze me. The man that ain't mad like Max, the boy that not murky like Ace B. And them guy walk the slide on the back, balling like a baby.
Oi, oi! Welcome to the Pep Talk UK Sports Podcast, the podcast that talks the major boxing and football news from around the globe, real points of view from a real panel. Hashtag real talk on Pep Talk. Please subscribe to Pep Talk UK on iTunes and YouTube. Don't forget to like, share and comment. Now I'm your host Frankie B and I'm joined by a sick panel. Firstly, I'd like to introduce from the capital city of France, Paris, Pascal. How are ya?
Frankie B, bonsoir mes amis. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I fluffed my lines. I should have said from Stonebridge. Pascal.
Well, you know, I'm still very much representing Paris everywhere I go, so it's Paris everywhere for me. But at the moment, it's feeling very much like London. The weather is terrible. And, I just look forward to some sunshine, Thank God for Delphine.
But thank God for Neymar. You got some sunshine in Paris now. Neymar Jr.
A lot of, Brazilian sunshine, of course. Yes, so, the Brazilians in France are very, very happy. Half of them are now supporting the Paris Saint-Germain club, But yes, it was very good to see that, Paris Saint-Germain have acquired probably one of the best players in the world. So one of them at the very least. So it's looking good for the French club. Yes, of course.
It's looking good. And he moved only for footballing reasons.
Yes, of course. According to him, Paris Saint-Germain is the future of football, and with a price tag of 200 million, of course, that helps anybody make that decision. I mean, I believe that even Umar will stop boxing and play football for that kind of money,
That's real talk. Hey, what was it? 30 grand for every 3 hours, apparently.
It's remarkable. I mean, Frankie B, I just wonder whether this world has got a bottomless pit of money. I mean, probably if you print the money like that, you can print as much as you want, but it's certainly a staggering amount of money. And let's just hope that his money well spent, But it put things into perspective. If players are going to cost 200 million in this lifetime, what's going to happen in 10, 20 years' time? Are we going to see £1 billion player one day? Potentially.
It could be Pascal Jr.
It could be. I better start now.
Better start now, mate.
Yeah.
All right, Pascal, we're going to keep it moving. You want to shout out your social media, bruv?
Yes, of course. Thanks to the show, I'm getting followers regularly. My Twitter and Instagram handles are Pascal_Desade, DESADE. Please contact me. Merci beaucoup.
The bad mouth of Paris. Now I'd like to introduce a man that is a former contributing editor of Ring Magazine Ukraine. It's Petar Sugarev. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, bro. Hey, gate crashers at your gates. He's ready to talk some boxing, yeah.
That's right. I see your boy Lomachenko turning up last weekend.
Yeah, great performance. Not terribly great, but it was cool to watch how to dismantle Mariaga.
Yes, easy work. How do you say
it in style, yeah.
How do you say easy work in Ukraine? Russian.
Легко и просто.
There you go.
Nice and easy.
So what's been happening overall in general?
Well, subject number one is, of course, the Klitschkos.
Yes,
everybody in Ukraine. The whole Ukraine is They're torn apart. Some people think that she shouldn't have retired. He could have gone and the other rematch with Joshua. Mm-hmm. Some thought it was his time.
You want to shout out your social media, Peto?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Follow me on Twitter at GateCrasherUA and add me as friend on Facebook and further GateCrasher Sugarov. Let's get it on.
Ukraine, what up? Right. Finally, I'd like to welcome a man that's recently turned pro, signing to the promoter Frank Warren. It's that boy, Umar Sadiq. How you doing, bro?
I'm great, man. Thanks for the intro. Yeah. I'm happy to be on here.
That's it. We're joined by boxing royalty again, you know?
Not quite yet, but I'm working on it. Certainly you'll be able to claim that within a year or two.
That's it. So, I believe you've been sparring this week.
Yeah, second week in camp. And as you all know, luckily I have the privilege to be connected to a fair number of people in boxing, amateur and pro. And, I was just taking an opportunity to come up here to Sheffield to spar with some of the GB Olympians, but also international Olympians. Like the French team are down, another country is due to be coming in tomorrow. And it's just such good work. It's only second week of camp and I'm already sparring against, the world's elite. And it's the kind of work that makes you feel so confident leading up to your debut.
Yes, that work. Speaking of your debut, I believe it is September the 16th. Couple box.
Yeah, so it's not been announced yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Exclusive right there, you know.
There's the exclusive. First in the Pep Talk boys, that's what you get for supporting me all through these years. My debut's going to be September 16th when the Billy Joe Saunders undercard. I'd officially announce it, I guess within probably at some point next week. But again, you guys got the scoop. I'll be against an opponent I don't know yet, but I'm not fixing my mind on that because especially at this level, opponents are known to pull out last minute and all that. So all I can focus is on being the best top boxer I can be, so that on the night whatever's been put in front of me, I can deal with it.
So you signed with Frank Warren. Does that mean that you get a few tables out at the club now and pop a few bottles?
No, it doesn't because A, I don't drink. And B, I barely get time to go out clubbing unless it's someone's birthday, and usually everyone else is buying at that time anyway, so keep my wallet in my pocket.
Hey, when you win the world title, maybe it's a different story.
Yeah, it might have a different story. Do you know what? Again, like I said, I don't drink, but I do enjoy the vibe of people around me when they're drinking, if I know them. I can't stand drunk people I don't know, but if I know people then, it's all great.
So, Uma, do you want to shout out your social media as we move forward?
Yeah, sure. Like I mentioned, I am the top boxer. If you type that into Twitter or Instagram, it'll be top boxer Sadiq. I don't believe there's anyone else. I'm the only one around. And then on Facebook, I've got a Facebook page as Umar Top Boxer Sadiq. So guys, get behind, follow, but not just for the sake of following, be part of the journey. I do engage with my followers a lot. And it's been an exciting journey, just be involved in it from the start to the end. So because it's quite nice when you see the progression of things and you're able to look to, maybe one day I could be a good reason why you could, or a good example of a motivational story you can tell someone. So get behind me, Top Boxer Sadiq.
Yeah,
we will.
Inspiring, Umar, very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right, let's move forward. Ladies and gents, for the fight fans locked in, for the football fans locked in, now it's time for some real talk on Pep Talk. Let's go! Yes, let's get into it. We ready. It's real talk. It's Pep Talk. So we're going to start with the boxing. Wladimir Klitschko hanging up the gloves. Now, Pascal, did he go out on his sword?
Well, Frankie B, I felt that Wladimir Klitschko had at least one or two more fights, I felt that a man of his stature, a boxing legend, certainly one that would go down in Hall of Fame as one of the greatest heavyweights in the sport, I felt that there was an opportunity for him to reclaim at least one world title before hanging up the gloves. You know, they were
Joseph
quote
Parker.
unquote easy. Of course, I was going to allude to that. They were an quote unquote easy fight for him to go to. And when was the last time we saw Klitschko fight in America? Perhaps he could have even negotiated a fight with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder needed a big name in his resume, and I believe that Wilder would have taken a fight against Klitschko. And Parker also would have relished the opportunity to fight against Klitschko, simply because it's an opportunity to fight a living legend, and a win against Klitschko, will elevate your stock, absolument. Donc, I felt that Klitschko had an opportunity to have at least one more fight at the limelight. The AJ fight for me was a foregone conclusion from the first fight. The first fight was a great, entertaining fight. As you recall, Frankie B is one of the best performances we witnessed live. He had all the drama, all the excitement that boxing can bring. But I did not feel that the second installment of that fight would have been as creative, and have captured the imagination of the public. I believe that Klitschko should have gone on to fight one more time before, hanging up the gloves. He fights a lot out of Germany. He could have easily brought one of the fighters out in Germany as a farewell fight in front of his fans in Germany and Ukraine. I'm sure Peter will have gone there himself, So I'm a bit disappointed that we're not going to see Dr. Steelhammer one more time. But in saying that, we have to salute one of the best boxers in the game, Although for me it was quite, he wasn't the most
entertaining.
Talented, but he worked very hard, and he's certainly the epitome of a gentleman that applied himself to the sport, that respected the sport, and that gave pretty much all of his energy, and dedication to the sport. Pretty much like the story that Umar just told us, that he wants to emulate this, in the greatness of the Klitschkos, the Mike Tysons, and the best before him. So, for that reason alone, Wladimir Klitschko will be revered for a very, very long time, and he's certainly a national treasure in Ukraine. And I'm sure that Peter will agree with me.
I'll remember his ring music.
The Chili Peppers, yes, of course. I don't know if they grow many chilies in Ukraine, Peter, but we know that he had a very good taste in music.
It really is, yeah.
That was a tune. Whoa. Now, Sadiq, do you think Klitschko's gained more respect in his defeat to AJ than he did for the whole of his 10-year reign as undisputed champion?
I wouldn't say than he did for the entire of his reign, because then that borderline undermines his achievements over the years. But what it did definitely do a lot for his reputation and his public image and persona. So leading up to the AJ fight, he was the robotic, boring Ukrainian based out of Germany who stunk out the place and hugged the towels and didn't let anyone else. It was like a kid that didn't let anyone else play with the toys, basically. But then after the AJ fight, putting on such a gallant performance, and it was such a great fight that the world loved. The world's eyes were on it. We finally got to see him in a fight, in an entertaining fight. Something that we haven't seen in a long time. And I felt like, again, people respected him so much, and it was the right time for him to go out after. So everyone was the winner. Yeah, because from a fan's perspective, we got a brilliant fight. Maybe taking away Ukraine, like Peter said, but from the rest of the world, I can imagine we got to see a legend go out in a brilliant fight. There was a lot of heart, courage, and skill shown in that fight. It was a fight of great magnitude, selling out 90,000 at Wembley. And then from his perspective personally, I see it as what would he be fighting for? It wouldn't be money, because he has enough. His brother's a politician. He's probably going to go into politics himself. And as we all know, without being too controversial, politicians have ways of making money, so it's not going to be the money. And so you got to think, is it for the glory? And he already got so much glory from the Joshua fight. Why risk jeopardizing it when you can just go out on a high note? And in regard, Yeah, and in regards to that fight, other people, like, he would have got no credit for fighting Parker. Probably would have got no credit for fighting Wilder, but then losing to any of those fighters would have done so much harm to his reputation. Yeah, and then like losing to Joshua again would have just made him seem like second best. So, you know, I think it was best that he went out the way he did, because he was up on the scorecards up until the 11th, so it's almost like, yeah, you weren't quite, you know, you weren't out of box, you just lost a great fight. And it was a perfect passing of the torch fight, which is good for the sport of boxing, because we got to see one era pass the torch on to the next era, and the sport of boxing benefits from him stepping aside at that stage.
And in some ways as well, he corrected the below par performance against Tyson Fury.
Basically, yeah. Obviously Tyson Fury's done himself no favours in that as well, but yes, certainly he's people are not going to remember him for the Tyson fight, they're going to remember him for the Joshua fight. And I think that's a good memory to go out on. It's not like he went in there and, you know, got blown out in no time or got outboxed for 12 rounds. It was a fantastic fight. He was up on the points, on the scorecard, up until he got stopped. So yeah, again, perfect time to go out in my opinion.
Yeah. And you know what? After the fight, even my mum watched the fight. She was like, you know what? You shouldn't retire. You should fight Mayweather.
Your mum is definitely Captain Casual.
Category casual.
Nice sense of humor.
Now, Petar, being Ukrainian yourself, how's the whole of Ukraine taking its retirement?
Well, Ukraine is doing fine. They are praising him, praising his career, which was remarkable, of course. Such a milestone for Ukrainian boxing. He did so much for Ukrainian boxing. Lomachenko, all these Ukrainian talents who are coming up right now, it's partially all because of him.
That's right.
He did so much, yeah. As for his political career, I don't think he will go into politics. He's too smart for that. Vitaly is mayor of Kiev. Yeah, he probably will go to promote it a bit. I think right now he'll just enjoy life. He's 40 years old. He's got family now. He's a family man. I think he'll just enjoy yourself. He's a smart man, yeah.
Will he get a motorbike? That's what you do at 40, I hear.
Was it war hugs or something like that?
But yeah, I mean, in some ways, Klitschko, yeah, I think the way he went out, people are going to appreciate him, you know, for what he's achieved in the sport now. And yeah, you're right, it's about the future now. There's a lot of quality fighters, young, hungry fighters out there. So moving on, the retirement of Klitschko had everybody wanting to win the lottery to fight AJ. But he's got a few mandatories that he's got to get out of the way first. Now Pascal,
wait,
looks like this: Pulev, Ortiz and Wilder in that particular order. It's certainly going to be a tough ride from now on for AJ.
It's certainly going to be an interesting ride for AJ. I mean, you know, you mentioned Pulev, you know, 26 fights, I believe, and the only defeat was against, Wladimir Klitschko himself.
Exactly.
So that, you know, it goes to show that Pulev is no joke, you know. He certainly has a good jab, good boxer. He also defeated a fellow Briton before. Chisora lost to him, you know, so we have an opportunity to see how good AJ is. I believe it's an IBF mandatory title defense, so, you know, Pulev has been in the running for that fight for quite some time, and I believe that Matchroom will be announcing very shortly whether the fight is to take place in the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff or whether he should go over to the United States. Preferably, I would prefer for the fight to remain in the UK because, you know, AJ certainly has captured the hearts of the UK fan base, maybe the hearts of some women who are also married, but we will not go into that subject. And at the same time, we won't go there. We won't go there. But he's a very charming man. We know that, and it's important for him to, before he goes to America, I would like to have AJ you know, have the same following as Ricky Hatton. You know, when he descends to the shores of the United States, he descends with an army of fans, you know, an army of British fans and world fans that want to see him fight. So perhaps it would be in the best interest to have one more domestic fight in the UK in a big stadium, and the following fights, you know, the Ortiz and the Wilder could be taking place abroad. You know, but as for Pulev, first and foremost, we cannot overlook him. He's a good fighter. He's also very, very hungry. He wants to win a world title fight. And against AJ, well, what a great opportunity to announce himself as a genuine heavyweight contender. So the fight is expected to take place in October, which means that the boxers have probably been in training for quite some time, and they are now just negotiating the administrative duties, and I would expect the fight to be a very good fight. I'm not sure that, you know, for me, I think it'll be a boxing fight, you know. Pulev has not got no knockout power, but he's an intelligent boxer.
Even Chisora said that.
He's not a big puncher, but he's a clever man, you know, and he's a good boxer, and he will do his best to try and throw AJ into a boxing fight. AJ has the much, you know, bigger advantage in terms of height and in terms of power, so we'll get to see how good AJ is as a boxer, and when necessary, when to apply the pressure and to use his power to knock out Pulev. So I'm excited about this fight. It's not an easy fight as most boxing casual fans, you know, believe it to be. I think it to be a very competitive fight for AJ, and it's certainly the kind of fights that AJ needs to be in to, you know, to cement himself in a division, but also to become one day the undisputed champion, you know. So it's part of the journey. So I'm looking forward to that, to the fight being announced very shortly.
So you're looking forward to AJ versus Pulev?
Yeah, certainly. I think it'll be a good fight. You know, I think I don't think it'll be as entertaining as the Wladimir Klitschko fight. I think Pulev will be quite cagey. Pulev will know already that AJ has knockout power. And, you know, being that he's fighting away from home as well, you know, in AJ's territory, he will probably try and use the first 3 or 4 rounds to, you know, to set the pace of the fight by controlling the fight. And it'll be up to AJ to decide when to put it on him, you know, to put the pressure on him and to take him out if the opportunity presents itself. But Pulev traditionally was very good on his feet, and of late his fitness has let him down, you know. He's not as bouncy on his feet as a Klitschko, for instance.
They call him David Klitschko.
Well, he will be a bit more stationary target for me, because Klitschko moved really well during that fight against AJ. You know, he moved, you know, he had great mobility, great feet.
It's like he had roller skates on me.
He was flying, wasn't he? He was doing very well. And Pulev would not fight in the same way, but Pulev has an excellent jab, you know, which he's probably modeled himself on from Wladimir. So I expect AJ to counter him and, you know, and to close the distance. And of course, you know, if AJ gets closer to Pulev, he has a very devastating uppercut that can make the difference in that fight.
I call it a dragon punch. That's how I call it, man. You know, Ken. Oh, you Ken. That's what it was at Wembley.
It's as devastating as that yeah.
Now, Sadiq, of the 3 mentioned fighters, Pulev, Ortiz and Wilder, who, in your humble opinion, poses the most difficult threat of the 3?
I would want to say Ortiz, simply because he's, you know, awkward Cuban. I would run.
It's the best kept secret, yeah.
I haven't been too impressed. Yeah, but I haven't been too impressed with his recent performances, so it's a bit hard to gauge that. And then Wilder obviously has that devastating equalizer in his right hand.
It's that chocolate brownie, yeah?
It's that chocolate brownie, the real chocolate brownie.
It's the Bob Squad.
That's it, and you know, it could detonate at any time. But you know, AJ has to fight Pulev now, I think, because I was watching an interview, IFL interview recently, where Eddie was saying they've asked, you know, the IBF to allow them to not fight Pulev a couple of times. So I don't think they can go back and do it again.
It's got to go ahead. Have to fight Pulev for a year. Yep. Yeah,
exactly. If he wants to keep that belt, then obviously Ortiz is a mandatory as well for the WBA. So he would probably have to fight him unless he, gives them step-aside money or something. And then eventually Wilder, but he would have to get past Ortiz to get to Wilder in the first place. I just feel like AJ is the best of the lot, but Ortiz is possibly a boogeyman, and if he slips up once and Wilder lands, the bump from the squad, then all hell can break loose, literally. Like, even if Wilder lands that shot, you see AJ trying to hang in there, but probably losing his faculties and everything, all his limbs all over the place. But then Wilder does the same thing, so they could look like they could have they're demonstrating some sort of a dance or something. But
well, would you think of those wild swings from Deontay Wilder when he's just?
I think
that's tailor made for AJ.
Yeah, it is, but I think Wilder is a fighter who, like Adonis Stevenson, looks for one shot, and when he lands it, he's aware that out of desperation, the opponent can throw anything to hurt him, and I think that fear of getting hurt forces him into just, I really want to get this over with, and he just loses the plot and throws anything. So I think it's a bit of that. Maybe once he gets more comfortable and more confident in himself, he can get a bit more composure. But whilst he does it, it's still, it's comically entertaining. Is the right way to put it, I think. So let him keep doing it. I mean, he's not my friend, so if he gets knocked out in the process, it will still be entertaining to me.
Petter, just ending with you.
Yeah.
Again, in your humble opinion, of the three that's mentioned, I mean, who do you think is the biggest threat to AJ?
I would have to agree with Umar. I think Ortiz poses the biggest threat to AJ among all three fighters. Yeah. Ortiz is a very big guy. He's this cagey puncher lefty, I think.
Very technically sound.
He's a bit old though. Technically sound, Cuban school. But he's old. He's not the fastest guy out there. I think Pulev is much more is a faster guy. And even Wilder is faster than Ortiz. But he punches so hard. That guy can be a real threat. And he's with her. Is he not?
Sorry, what was that?
Ortiz, he's still with Eddie Hearn.
He's not with Hearn anymore.
No, he's not. He's with Al Heyman.
He's not?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Heyman. Well, that makes things difficult, yeah. Always is, yeah.
But look, it's all about timing. The good thing is, Joshua's potentially going to fight Ortiz when he's older. And what is he, 38? I think he's...
Yeah, I think
getting to those uncle ages, so...
Yeah, the thing with Ortiz being 38, I don't know about that because he hasn't had any tough professional fights, and he hasn't had that many professional fights either. So I think from a boxing perspective, he doesn't have that much mileage in his clock. But I guess the argument could be aesthetically, he doesn't look like he lives the life around the clock either. If he did, then there'll be an argument for saying that the age thing wouldn't matter because he doesn't have so much mileage in the clock. But it's just one of those things you'll have to see when you finally see him in a tough fight. I don't think it's something to set in stone.
I think Ortiz had a extensive amateur career in Cuba.
Yeah.
He has some miles on him, yeah.
As time unfolds, we'll get to see how AJ overcomes these obstacles. Right, guys, Petter, turning to you especially, we talked about passing of the torch, passing of the baton. There's only one man at the moment everyone's talking about, Vasyl Lomachenko, man like high tech. Right.
High tech indeed, yeah.
Yes, mate. How do you think he got on against Margarita? He had a cracking stoppage.
Yeah, yes, Mariaga, yeah. I think it was a great performance, not a super performance. He got hit flush a couple times, finished the fight with some cuts and some welts under his eye. He even himself said he raised his performance on the way he looks after the fight. He didn't look particularly good. Mariaga's face was much cleaner than his.
Do you think it was all the showboating that made Lomachenko get caught a few times?
That's his style. He's a very proud man.
Flash.
Lomachenko. He's very flashy. He's got a bit of Roy Jones in him.
Mm-hmm. The fans love that though.
Yeah. Well, some don't. Some fans doesn't like showboating. Matter of taste, I guess.
The funny thing is they're from the same country, but Klitschko and Lomachenko, I mean, they're so far apart in extremes.
Yeah.
I think, though, Lomachenko in particular, he wasn't influenced by Klitschko as much as we think he was. He's a bit of standalone fighter. Yeah, he's a bit of standalone fighter. He doesn't like Klitschko, as far as I know.
Oh wow.
Lomachenko, yeah. There's some tension between them. Not a big fan. If you remember, Andrei Kotelnik, light welterweight from Ukraine, also not a fan of Klitschko's.
Pascal,
Wait.
Lomachenko, we keep praising him, but he's missing that big fight. And there's talk of Mikey Garcia and Rigon Dow at the end of 2017. Do you think either fight will happen? Will Bob Arum allow it to take place?
Lomachenko is certainly Bob Arum's potential new cash cow. He's performing the way he's expected to perform. He's an excellent amateur. Was an excellent amateur. He's also a consummate professional. So I expect Lomachenko to go on from strength to strength, and he's certainly chasing that pound for pound status. And his boxing is just a joy to watch. I'm not a very big fan of southpaw fighters, simply because I'm a bit biased myself. If I was a boxer, I'd be an orthodox fighter, and I've always watched orthodox fighters, because as you know, in boxing, the history of boxing is such that, southpaw fighters were not given the opportunity to box, a long time ago. They were forced to become orthodox fighters. So now we have the opportunity to see a great talent in Lomachenko. Yes. And he makes me want to become a southpaw fighter. If I was a southpaw fighter, I'll either be a certain Umar Sadiq or Lomachenko, So, so it's certainly great to see, that the southpaw boxers are making a name for themselves. And as far as Lomachenko is concerned, who does he fight next? I felt that the Mariaga fight was a bit of a cherry pick, simply because it allowed him to showcase his talent, his skill, and he has to grow a fan base. I mean, look, Bob Arum has potentially got, the one direction of boxing here. You've got without being labeled a homosexual, but you have a handsome man in Lomachenko. Big blue eyes, good-looking young man. that could be in a boy band. He's
One Direction.
He could be exactly.
He could be in as a dancer for them.
The Justin Timberlake of boxing.
He's got the moves like Jagger.
He certainly does. He dances very well around his opponents. I think once he commands a good, commands of English, he can now become, more of the worldwide brand that Bob Arum potentially sees himself as to be. So, it's imperative from a business position to ensure that Loma carries on winning in style, and let's not risk his record as he once risked it against Salido, I believe, where he lost a split decision. So, if you were Bob Arum, Frankie B, you would probably want to keep him away from the talent of Rigonda, and you would probably want to, to make sure that his opponents are giving him the work that he needs, but not threatening the stock, because Lomachenko, whilst he's quite young, the stock will not mature over the next 2 to 3 years. He certainly, he can go up to lightweight. As he grows up, he could potentially go to light welterweight, where the, fights become more interesting, where the public decide to now become a bit more supportive, because there's a bit of bias in boxing. Smaller fighters are not always, revered, and are not always pushed by the public. And Rigonda is a very perfect example of that. He's an excellent fighter. Fighter. If Rigonda was a middleweight, if Rigonda was even a welterweight, we would be speaking about him with much more reverence than we are now. But because he's a smaller man, the boxing public are not really pushing, a smaller boxer. So it is in Lomachenko's interest to go up in a weight divisions and to start capturing the imagination of the public and the support of the wider public, of the casual fans, for instance. So, where does he go from here? I think that a fight with Garcia is still pretty much a risky fight. You know, for me, I would like to see him fight Salido, avenge that defeat against Salido, you know, and then go on to fight other fighters and avoid Rigonda at all costs, because Rigonda, whilst he'll be an excellent fight, Rigonda will have to go up a few, you know, a weight class or so. And I think for Loma, he'll be up against probably another remarkable boxer that has that's just a good enough amateur record, a very good Olympic record, and a boxer that can think, that can move, and that can fight as well as he does. So he certainly will be, you know, when you remember when you had Spider-Man and you had this Black Spider-Man? Yeah, that's exactly what
Venom.
he would be.
Venom,
Venom, of course. You know, Rigonda will be Venom, you know. So it will be a very exciting fight. So I would love to see that fight, but I do not think that Bob Arum would allow this fight to happen for political reasons.
You can tell Pascal's a big fan of Rigo.
Big time.
Now Umar, Lomachenko, mate, we can't stop raving about this guy, mate. Is this a superhero in boxing, mate?
I think there's a good argument for that. I agree with most of what Pascal said, though. So, you know, being objective here, Mariago was cherry-picked. I remember when, you know...
6 week notice, yeah.
Yeah, not even that. I looked on his record when I heard the fight announced, like, on BoxRec, and, you know, he's mostly fought people with losing records back in Colombia, and then he went to Mexico a few times, did alright. Then, you know, pretty much every time, not pretty much, but like, he started losing when he started coming to America. But, you know, he took Waters the distance and lost to him, but it took him the distance. He also lost his last fight coming into the Lomachenko fight, but what you need to respect, well, what I think we should respect Lomachenko for is the way he goes about his business. So, you know, he's fighting someone that was cherry-picked, yes, but he makes the person look like they were cherry-picked. You know, the special things he does can't be denied. They're entertaining. Yeah, he got marked up and bruised up in his last fight, but, you know, he's in a fight. These things are going to happen. And the cut came from a clash of heads as well, if you watch the replay too. But, yeah, with the way he handled Mariago, who is a heavy-handed man, personally, I was impressed, because to take those chances and stay in the pocket with a guy that you know can knock you out takes a high level of confidence that must come from, obviously, you know, winning so well and training meticulously the way he does. I was watching this video, and this thing that Top Rank are doing, where they're giving insights in training camps to different fighters, and I just watched Lomachenko and I was thinking, bloody hell, that I want to have a camp like his, basically. You know, he's got everything that he needs, and everything's documented and computerized, and everything's planned. You know, the round he stopped his opponent in was probably planned even. I would be surprised. But yeah, I think in saying all that, though, Pascal's right. We can't get carried away. It is the level of opponent he's up against. I'm impressed with the fact that he's fighting these guys so early on in his career. But I think really and truly he's just doing what most amateur stars should be doing. You know, there's no sense in being an amateur star fighting against the best in the world year on, year off, and then you go into the pros and you're fighting someone who's got a part-time job working, you know, same thing I didn't want to do, basically. I think you should just go in there and fight against the best, and he's doing that. He's got to get his credit for that. The fight against Mikey Garcia is a tricky one, because I see Mikey Garcia winning it unless Lomachenko's footwork is too fast for him to keep up with. So long as he can nullify Lomachenko's footwork, I see Mikey beating Lomachenko.
Mikey Garcia is good at cutting the ring down as well.
Exactly. He's got impeccable timing, great balance, good judgment of range. But again, if Lomachenko dances around him, I don't see Mikey shifting quick enough to adjust to it. But then, what if he catches Lomachenko whilst he's trying to dance around? You know. So these are the things that make it an interesting fight. I'd personally love to see it. I'd also love to see the Rigondeaux fight, but that Pascal said, I literally don't see that happening, because Lomachenko's talking about going up. I guess mainly for better recognition and for financial reasons too, economic reasons. So, you know, Rigo's got to come up as, you know, a number of weight classes to be in a position to challenge Lomachenko. So the Mikey Garcia fight is definitely more likely to happen. there's a HBO thing recently where Mikey Garcia went in to see Lomachenko in the back room somewhere in HBO, and they had a chat and they talked about the fight. So it looks like there might be a build up there, or maybe they're testing the waters and see what their interest is. But there's definitely interest coming from me.
So do you see, Umar, Lomachenko being more conservative in his style if he fights a more dangerous fighter?
No, I think he will do what he does. So one of the things that people don't understand with fighters who showboat, and I remember getting warned in amateurs a number of times for this, so I can only speak for myself, but I'd imagine that most of the fighters who do it for the same reason. It's not because we're trying to disrespect the opponent. If I do anything that looks like I'm showboating, it's because I'm in the zone, I'm seeing ways in which I can deceive my opponent and catch them by surprise.
Hold on 1 minute, Umar. Don't tell me you do the Izonto in the ring.
I do what?
The Izonto.
I might just do that on my debut. Bust a little wang or something. But, I mean, I don't necessarily do that, but, I might step here, step there. I've been known to do, actually, I'll tell you what, I've been known to do the Harlem Shake before, winding up the hands and stuff. But, yeah. But it's not from a spiteful place. It's not from a disrespectful place. It's just you get in a zone, and for me, everything goes into slow motion, and I can read what the opponent's doing, and I could just tell if I do this certain thing, it's going to set them off, and at the right time, if I throw a shot, it's going to land. And if they do anything, I'm going to see it coming because everything's happening in slow motion. But then, a ref breaks your rhythm and goes, no, don't do that. And then now you've got to try to find another way to box. So I think if he's doing that because it's natural, is what comes to him, he's reading things and to be able to do it. If you see a lot of times he puts his head in the opponent's face and with his hands down, and you don't do that without being calculated because no one's chinned him yet. So clearly he's seeing something that we're not seeing from the outside. So I still see him doing that. I just think that obviously someone could potentially nullify it, and that person would probably be Mikey Garcia.
Yes, and you remember Prince Nassim got nullified by Barrera?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. The old school basics, when done very well, would nullify anything.
Yes, indeedy. Right, guys, finally, we're going to talk about the Battle of Britain that was announced this week. And that's Anthony Crolla versus Ricky Burns. Some call it the Battle of the Nice Guys. Now, Pascal, we're likely to see a very caring type of fight where they both express concern to one another. Like, are you okay, mate? Or, sorry, mate, I leave the hook out next time, mate. Or, ref, give him some water, mate. The Battle of the Nice Guys, who are you tipping? It's an interesting fight. It's kind of career-defining fight.
Well, you know what's interesting is the fight and the characters of both fighters may well change on the fight night, because you're going to have the over-exuberant Scottish crowd descending in Manchester. You're going to have the local Mancunians also supporting their man. And I think that the energy of both sets of fans will perhaps turn those fighters into, Super Saiyan level 7, and I don't think that, they will be nice guys to each other.
Yeah. One could turn into a heel, like Hulk Hogan turned into is it Hollywood Hogan back in the day?
Yeah, it could potentially do that, I mean, I have my favorite in that fight, and that is Ricky Burns.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going with Ricky Burns, because his resume of fighter is probably one of the best Scottish fighters of all time, in my opinion, in terms of what he has achieved for Scottish boxing and for British boxing is quite remarkable, and I think that Ricky Burns for me edges Crolla on the basis that he's got a bit more experience in the ring. His last performance against Julius Ndongo wasn't the best one, but he certainly has taken a lot. Even in defeat, boxers tend to learn quite a lot from that, what they could have done better. He's been in a ring with the likes of Terence Crawford. He's been with the ring with so many good boxers, and I think that Crolla's back-to-back defeats to Jorge Linares, exposed, some of Crolla's frailties in terms of his technicality in boxing, and Ricky Burns for me may edge him during the night. And also there's a big future at stake for those two fighters, because I think it's a crossroad fight to some extent, because for Burns, who's 34 years old, you know, is one last opportunity to go for a world title potentially, and for Crawler cannot afford to lose this fight, because, you know, having lost to George Linares, who's a talent in his own right, he needs to go back to winning ways. You know, his promotion team will expect him to win this fight, because, you know, there is only so much a promotion team can back a boxer that has not backed any more wins. You know, I know that Eddie Hearn has a soft spot for Anthony Crawler. It seems quite obvious, but from a business point of view, Crawler needs to win this fight. So it's a crossroad fight. So I think it's going to be full of energy, full of of heart. You know, as you say, there will be the brave hearts of Scotland on one side and, you know, the pride of England on the other. But I'm edging towards Ricky Burns simply on the basis that, to me, he's a better all-round boxer with a better experience at that level. And in terms of the nerves, I think that Burns will be able to control the nerves better during that fight. You know, so I'm going for Team Burns.
Team Burns. Petter, in terms of these two fighters, is it really all or nothing for these guys?
Yeah, so just like Pascal just said, it's a great crossover fight. I think I've got Crawler in this fight, man. I think they're both coming off losses. Burns lost to Ndongo in Scotland, I think, while Crawler lost to two consecutive decisions. Yeah, yeah. To Linares, who is a great fighter. I think he's the man to beat to 135 right now. I would love Lomachenko to fight him, by the way. That would be a peach of a fight, yeah. Yeah. As for the Crawler Burns, I think I would go with Crawler. I think Burns is a bit worse. Yeah, a bit worse for wear for tear. I think Crawler is a fresher fighter. I think he's a bit younger than Burns. I don't really remember. I think, yeah.
Crawler's 29, Burns 34.
Yeah. But Burns is a bit bigger. I think that might pose a bit of a threat to Crawler. And he can really punch. He's a good puncher. Yeah. But I think in the end, I think Crawler will the fight in Manchester, in his hometown.
Wayne Rooney will be cheering him on, you know. Rooney.
I'm sure of it. Yeah.
That's right. Now, Umar, just to conclude with you, are we actually going to get a fight? Are these guys too nice?
I think similar to the Joshua Klitschko fight, where they were basically holding each other's hands and, you know, winking at each other. It's probably going to be, you know, a polite and very English-like build-up, but I believe the fight will be good. They're two fighters at similar levels, in my opinion. It's just that Burns happens to have had more fights at world level.
Freeweight champion. Yeah.
Exactly. I think they're both. It's going to sound a bit harsh to say that Burns is a fringe world title fighter, because I think they both are, because he's a freeweight division champion. But I still think quality-wise, they're both fringe world title fighters. They're not that elite class, you know. They're that class where against the right person you can win world title, and against the top guy, they're always going to lose. So
that's what they say about Broner. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. So it's a perfect matchup from that perspective. And then the next bit to look at is, I believe Burns has more dynamics to his game. Crawler typically wins his fights by pressure, work rate, and just grinding people down. Whereas Burns, you know, has more dimensions, but at the same time is known for being fit and having a high work rate. So being a bigger man and having a high work rate that I believe will match Crawler's, I don't see how Crawler grinds him down. And for those reasons, I see Burns winning it, but of course I could be wrong.
Indeed, we'll soon find out. Cracking stuff, guys. Now it's interview time. And this week, our boxing correspondent Shaz focused on grassroots boxing and the next gen of the future Let's hear from Shiloh De Freitas, who fights at a Repton ABC, who recently won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Youth Games.
Pep Talk UK are at one of the homes of boxing, an institute, Repton ABC in Bethnal Green, with a young man who has had me screaming, shouting, roaring him on. It's none other than young Shiloh De Freitas. Sugar Shy, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Sugar, you've come back home with a little medal.
Yeah.
What colour's your medal?
Gold.
You got a gold medal at the Commonwealth Youth Games. Where were they held?
We went to Bahamas for the Commonwealth Youth Games.
And you went and beat up an Australian?
Fell in the finals for the gold.
Now, taking it back, where did your boxing career start from?
I've been training from the age of 6. I'm here now. I've been training throughout. I've won a few tournaments. I got on the England team, and then I was on the England team. They were looking at trials. I won the NABCs, and then I got to the youth finals. I had a close fight with one of my good friends now. He ended up moving up in weights, so I was the fullback basically, and then we both went and won gold.
Now, you went out to the Bahamas. Who did you travel out with?
The England team.
And I know you had family support with you as well.
Yeah, they all come supporting me. Won gold.
Now, you went there. First, how many fights did you have out in the Bahamas?
I had 4. In 5 days.
In 5 days, that's quite impressive. The first round of that, who were you fighting?
I had to box to Trinidad. He was short, and he was very strong, so I had to move and hit him and box him and play with him.
Yeah. And then the second round, so you dealt with the Trinidad boy. Second round?
Second round. Who did I have in second round? I had the Welsh boy. There was a lot of I beat him in the 3 Nations, so there was a lot of hype around it because he thought he was going to get me back on this one because I was cutting the weight short and I had to train off the weight. So it wasn't only the fights, I had to also make weight every day, and it wasn't easy for me. So he knew I was a bit tired on the weight, but he thought that's why he had an advantage. But because I was doing a bit extra to get the weight off, I was always super fit. So when he got in the ring, I just whacked him up and just finished him off.
Now, when you talk about weight, what weight were you fighting at?
56 bantamweight.
56 bantamweight. Now, after you've dispatched the Welsh lad,
yeah,
you were in for the hunt you were in for a medal.
Yeah.
You were lining up a bronze medal for yourself.
Yeah.
Against quite a handy young Indian lad.
Yeah.
But you come through well.
Yeah, I came through well. He was very tough, awkward southpaw. He was trying to take off my head a few times with some big bombs, and I was moving like Neo from Matrix, just dodging them and playing with him and just hitting him hard and that, and I got him out of the way.
A bit of Loma, yeah?
Yeah, a bit of Lomachenko.
Lomachenko. We've got a young Lomachenko on our hands here. And he's representing England, which is always good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, there was elation. I remember covering it on my social media, and my phone went bananas from people around here saying, he's in the final. One of our ladies, one of the Pep Talk girls, Emma Mack, was on me saying, he's in the final, so we're all rooting for you. How was it before the final? Mentally, pressure, how did you cope?
It wasn't really pressure for me. Like, there was a lot of people more nervous than me, but because of all the hard graft I'd done and all the runs and the hill sprints and the things I put my body through, I wasn't nervous because I knew I put in the hours and put in the graft, so it wasn't a thing where I was nervous to get in the ring. Obviously, you always have that little butterflies in your stomach before you go in there, but because I knew I'd done all the hard graft, I knew that no other medal other than gold was suitable for me, so I made sure I grabbed that.
I was really impressed because just before your fight, a couple of hours, me and you were messaging each other, and I was like on the edge of my seat, and there was you, quite chilled, relaxed with your messages back. You seemed quite easy.
Yeah, I get in the zone when it's like half an hour, 45 minutes before I get in the zone, and I start focusing and getting switched on. But I try to not be too stiff because it messes with your head and you can't perform like that. When you're more relaxed, your shots fly out better and you get to get to work better in the ring.
Now, with the Aussie lad, the bell rings, you're in there with him.
Yeah. He throws on big backhand, he's tough, he's very tall as well. So I'm moving, ended up going southpaw on him, started playing with him southpaw. It worked a bit better when I went southpaw, because I started catching him with more check hooks. But because he kept steaming in, I was catching with the big shots and the body and the bowler to the body, just loads of check hooks. And I was talking to him in the fight, and the referee told me a couple of times off, but I was trying to break his confidence and get in his head. And because I was quick and I kept catching him and then talking to him after, it kind of messed up his game plan and kept falling into my game plan because he was frustrated. And then I knew I had the fight, I knew I won the fight because he lost his head.
And how was that feeling when after the fight you knew you'd bagged the gold, your hand's been raised, you then stand up on that podium? How was that feeling?
Well, you know, deep down you always want, like, you know, you deserve the gold. So when I made it official, you know what I mean, it was like, I was over the moon. You know what I mean?
What's next for you? What are you doing now?
Well, hopefully, well, not even hopefully, I'm not far off the weight now, so I'm gonna remake 56 for the European, and then gonna go back gold in that too.
When's the Europeans?
In October.
Well, I'm gonna be following it, but for all the listeners and people that want to follow your journey, how can they follow it? What are your social media handles?
On social media, you can @ me on Instagram, sugarshy_. I'm on the Facebook, Sugar Shiloh, and yeah, you can follow me on there.
Now, you're doing Repton Prad, you're doing London Prad, you're doing England Prad. Go get that gold at the European Championships.
Yeah, we'll do, don't worry.
Well, Sugar, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to be following your career. I know a lot of people are, and we wish you the best of luck. And if there's anything the Pep Talk boys can ever do for you, just give us a holler.
Alright, cool, thank you.
Nice one, brother. Thank you.
Cracking interview, Shaz. So now it's football time, and the Premiership is back, baby. And as ever, we're covering the elite Premiership teams this season. But let's predict some of the games. Firstly, Pascal, we'll start with Arsenal versus Leicester at the Emirates.
Wait.
Now, all of a sudden, Sanchez has got an injury. What do you reckon?
You know, there's a saying in Ghana, you know, Sakawa boys is those fake 419 people, and I'm not sure whether it's still trick in the book where the player wants to preserve himself before a move away from the stadium,
for the end of the transfer window,
or whether he's genuinely has an injury. But I believe that Arsenal will have enough to win the game against Leicester. I don't predict it to be an exciting game. I think it'll be a 1-0 win victory for Arsenal. 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Courtesy of Lacazette, maybe.
Yes, I can actually see somebody like Danny Welbeck scoring a goal, you know, like a set piece goal, like a header, something like that. You know, yeah.
Or off the old shin, off his shin.
Yes, I don't see it as being a beating, because, you know, they have Iniacho. And Iniacho, I like Iniacho. He's a very good player, and I think that he will cause the Arsenal defense some problems. Mertesacker is injured. Koscielny, I'm not sure, will be back for that game. So there will be a potential makeshift defense, you know. But I think that Arsenal will have enough to cope with Leicester. You know, Mase is probably still a bit annoyed that he's not been able to realize his transfer to Arsenal and to AS Roma. To Roma. So I think that you know, he would probably play with less enthusiasm as before, and Jamie Vardy could still, you know, perform. But for me, I think Arsenal will win that game. I think it'll be a 1-0 victory for the Gunners.
1-0 victory. Now, let's welcome MJ in. MJ, how you doing, bro? You alright?
Yeah, not too bad. MJ in the building. Let's get this football show going.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Arsenal versus Leicester at the Emirates. How do you see this one?
I mean, I totally have to agree with everything Pascal said there. I mean, it's the battle of both teams. They've got players that we don't know where they're going to be at the end of the transfer window. Arsenal with Alexis Sanchez. He might be having an injury, faking an injury. Only Wenger can tell us. And we've got Riyad Mahrez, who rumours today, Roma were actually making the third bid for Riyad Mahrez. So his mind will not be all too settled. It's a Friday night fixture, the opener of the Premier League, and I believe it's the first time, because Chelsea fans have been going absolutely crazy, saying it's the first time that defending champions are not going to be playing on the actual opening day of the Premier League season. So you've got the previous champions versus Arsenal. It should be a great, great game, but I have to agree with Pascal. It'll probably be a scrappy game because everyone's not up to match fitness, and I see Arsenal just shading it. After all they showed us last week against Chelsea, I think they'll have enough against Leicester City.
Yes. I'm going to wade in, and I think it's going to be a 2-0 Arsenal victory. I'm a bit wary of the result because Arsenal just don't start well in opening fixtures. It's going to be a tight game, but I think Lacazette is going to get off the mark, and I think Arsenal are going to do it. They're going to start the season with 3 points for once.
I mean, what's that? Full house. We all agree Arsenal are going to do it, so no pressure, guys. Football experts are saying Arsenal will do it, so yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. Come, let's see how Arsenal carry on Friday.
I've been saying that for the past 2 seasons, and the opening day, Arsenal are going to do it.
Actually, last season was against Liverpool, wasn't it? But yeah, well, let's not talk about last.
We'll leave that out.
We're moving forward. Bank it in. We want you to stay. So, yeah.
Right, let's move forward to a team that spent plenty of money. Manchester United versus West Ham at Old Trafford. Now, Pascal, Man United are coming off the back of an L to Real Madrid in the Super Cup. Will they bounce back with an opening victory against West Ham?
I think that is an opportunity for them to showcase that that they can bounce back. I think Mourinho will have told them that, look guys, you played very well. The game could have gone either way. Though I felt that Real Madrid were in far more control of the game, there was opportunity for Rashford to equalize during the Super Cup game, but it's not the end of the world. They still need to find their rhythm, Manchester United. For me, there's a lack of identity in the team. We still do not know what kind of Manchester United it is going to be. And I think Mourinho has a good crop of players, a good squad, but he needs to give them an identity. And at this moment in time, I cannot tell you what they are and who they are and how they can play. They've lost that edge for me. But I believe they'll have enough to upset the West Ham team, the Hammers, but I don't think it will be a goalless draw, or I don't think it will be an easy win for Manchester United. I see both teams scoring goals. I see Chicharito, proving himself to be to return to Old Trafford. He was a fan favorite. They liked it very much because he was the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer of his day. He would come on off the bench and score some cracking goals. The super sub, and he knows the pitch very well. He's very familiar with the Old Trafford pitch, and if there's anyone that can upset the debut of Jose Mourinho, will be Chicharito. So I expect it to be a competitive game, and West Ham, can offer some trouble to Manchester. They've done it before. Last season wasn't an easy ride with them when they met at various points of the competition. So I expect a Manchester United win, but a difficult win, and I think it'll be a 2-1 victory for Manchester United, where I can see the Hammers going 1-0 up, and I can see a response coming in later on from Manchester United. I like Lukaku. I think Lukaku is a great striker, but as he showed yesterday in the Super Cup, I can see him missing a few chances before putting, some inside the net, and he reminds me of a very tan version of Olivier Giroud. With talent, with talent, big guy, but he needs at least a couple of chances to put it behind the net. And that's different.
Andy Cole was like that as well.
Andy Cole was like that, yes, of course, and he wasn't a bad player, but the hallmark of a superb player, of some of the best players around the world, is they only need half a chance to score a goal.
Yes.
And that's the difference.
George Weah.
And that's the difference.
Papan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the difference there, Frankie B. And I don't believe that Manchester United have quite got that player in Lukaku, but he still will score 20 goals this season, I believe.
What would you make of all this mockery on Twitter? They're saying that Man United bought Matic to free Pogba, but Pogba's still playing rubbish. Would you make it all that?
I mean, Pogba is an emotional player. No, please, interject. He's a...
No, I was about to say, I mean, everyone's saying that they bought Matic to free Pogba. The issue is not Matic or Fellaini, who's a ball player. Well, the issue is Mourinho. He wants to play defensive. He wants to play a powerful game. And I think Paul Pogba is just going to have to adapt to that, because he doesn't really give a lot of his players, as we know from the past, he doesn't give a lot of freedom to run forward and do this and do that. And I think Paul Pogba is just a little bit confused. At times he's not sure whether he should be playing at 10 or if he should be playing, or how defensive he should be.
So what are you saying? You're saying like, you know, it's like in a Championship Manager when you make all the arrows point downwards. Is that right?
Exactly. Mourinho not just makes the arrows point down, he moves their starting position downwards and then he points the arrows behind. So he goes ultra defensive, score one goal and lock it up. It's like the old school Italian clubs, the Italian clubs of the 80s.
Arrigo Sacchi, yeah?
That's it, you know. So yeah, great manager, Arrigo Sacchi. So I think Mourinho is from those arts. Even though a lot of the time on the internet they call him the more cultured Sam Allardyce, because even when he played at Chelsea, they played with Didier Drogba shooting and attacking all that, Lampard picking up the pieces, which is what Bolton used to do with
Djokayev and Kojo and yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Kevin Davis. I was going to say Kevin Davis is someone else, you know. So yeah, but they did have JJ Okocha. Fair play for Big Sam.
And you know, MJ, that's a very good point. And I was quite disappointed when Mourinho went for Paul Pogba, because you know Paul Pogba under the Juventus management was a far more creative player. You know, and he was given the opportunity to free himself, and Pirlo and Dybala gave him the opportunity to be that player there. You know, and since absolutely, and since Mourinho purchased him, it seems to me that, you know, he's been taking that creativity that he was expressing in the Italian league is now been subdued in the Premiership, and he's turned into almost a close version.
Because if you remember, sorry to interject, if you remember MJ, John Obi Mikel,
we spoke about
younger days, was an attacking player. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we remember that.
Yes.
Listen, I remember John Obi Mikel playing in the Under-20 World Cup, the same World Cup that Messi was the best player. Actually, I think Mikel got voted most valuable player, but I think Messi finished top scorer in that World Cup, because Mikel was a magician on the ball. I mean, you wouldn't believe that if you saw the sideways passes he was doing before he got shipped off to China. So, you know, I mean, if you don't have a strong personality and you're not sure of yourself, Mourinho can just totally, can totally destroy you. So,
absolutely, and it's what is going on with Pogba at the moment.
And even Eto'o at Inter Milan turned into a defensive right-sided attacker.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? So, after scoring all those goals at Barcelona. However, having said that, I mean, Eto'o did come to the Premier League and he showed he wasn't so old. So yeah, but I know what you mean. With Mourinho's tactics, if you are not sure about yourself, then I think you're going to get because he doesn't want you to dribble in certain areas. He prioritises defence more than attack. But the truth is, I mean, it's the old football saying, a defence wins you championships and the attack can win you the odd game. So it's the reason why Mourinho has been so successful, because he knows you build from the back. This is the reason why when top managers go everywhere, they always prioritise signing a centre-back. Guardiola signed for Barcelona, he signed Gerard Piqué. He signs for Man City, he signs John Stones. Not quite the same quality, but only time will tell.
You need a good spine in football, don't you? You need a reliable goalkeeper, solid centre-back, strong defensive midfielder, creative player, and a striker that scored 20 plus
and it's not
goals.
just that. I mean, these days you also need your fullbacks. Look at Man City spending 54 million on a right back and 56 million on a left back. It's completely crazy.
Shocking.
Football's gone mad.
It's gone doolally. But back to the Old Trafford game against West Ham, Man United. What are you seeing in terms of a result, MJ?
Yeah, I again have to agree with Pascal. I don't want it to seem like we are just backing the top teams. It's the start of the season. United seem to be a little bit sharper than West Ham, because West Ham played in Iceland versus Man City and they lost 3-0. It could have been more, if not for Joe Hart wanting to actually do well against his old team. Going to Old Trafford, given on the back of the way Slaven Bilic has actually had, they've got a few injuries. You've had like Arnautovic looking to settle in. You can only see it one way. I think United will be too powerful for them. I mean, what do you reckon, Frankie B?
I'm going for a 0-0 draw with no shots on goal from either team.
0-0. To be honest, can we all pay money to watch that game? It sounds like quite an amazing game on the planet.
Yeah. You might have to Sky Plus this one, mate.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm going for a draw.
A draw.
I'm going for 1-1 draw. I think Man United are going to score first, and I just got a sneaky feeling Chicharito is going to pop up. Last 5 minutes. Yep, he's going to do that. Okay, cool. We move on to Chelsea versus Burnley at the Bridge. Now, Pascal, it's Louis Beneventi's team. Chelsea. Is it going to be light work for Chelsea? All seems to be up in the air at the moment with the manager, Conte.
Well, you know, the manager has made it very clear, and he was quite vocal, that some of the transfer targets he wanted, he has not been able to achieve them. We know that Conte is the kind of manager that, you know, wears his heart on his sleeve, and he can very much, you know, show the enthusiasm in the world to win, but at the very same time, if he feels like he's not being backed, and he feels that his progress is being hampered by the lack of investment, he's willing to walk away. So, you know, the signing of Morata last week, we saw that he missed a very, very bad penalty, you know, and you know, will he perform?
That was awful.
Well, I mean,
I think Batshuayi found it quite funny, didn't he?
It was quite shocking. You know, I mean, you know, Batshuayi, of course, and also he himself needs to step up to the plate, you know. He's been at the club a couple of seasons, and we have yet to see the brilliance of the player. So, I predict, you know, that in good fashion that Chelsea should win against Burnley, as they should, because on paper it's a game that they should win. But Burnley last season have caused quite a lot of difficulties for some of the top flight teams. You know, they proved to be difficult to beat at times, quite a resilient side, and I wouldn't be surprised if the games, you know, ends up a stalemate between the two teams. I can see Burnley trying very hard to frustrate Chelsea to defend and to try and take advantage of the depleted Chelsea team. I mean, let's not forget that Eden Hazard is not going to be playing that game. If I'm not mistaken, he's currently injured. You know, Conte has complained at the lack of, you know, ability to field in first team players. You know, he's struggling to find the first 11 players that can compete. So, you know, could the Burnley-Chelsea game be the game of, you know, of a couple of seasons ago when West Ham beat, you know, Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium? Could we see a repeat of that?
I think there's shots on the cards, I really do.
I could say to you, Frankie, if I was a betting man, I would look at the odds for Burnley to upset Chelsea, you know, given the current climate at Stamford Bridge, given the last performance against, you know, Arsenal, there's a chance that Chelsea could be on the ropes. You know, he only needs is that overhand right coming from Burnley.
Yeah, the only thing with Burnley is they've let go of two key players.
I was about to say Burnley.
Andre Gray, exactly, and Keane.
Yeah,
that's the only problem.
Yeah, Burnley are absolutely they've actually let go of, you know, arguably two of their key players. I mean, the one with Andrew Gray actually signing today for Watford.
Andrew Gray, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit of a shocking one, because apparently
20 mil, yeah.
Yeah, apparently part of the reason was because his girlfriend, who's in Little Mix, wasn't actually allowed to sit down in the director's box. This is 21st century football. Apparently, every time she would apply to actually want to sit in the director's box to watch her boyfriend, apparently Sean Dyche will actually say, no, you have to sit down with the rest of the other wives and girlfriends. Yeah, because apparently he didn't want it to be a kind of separation of the team in which someone is giving preferential treatment to their partner because she's famous. So anyway, he's left now. He's signed for Watford. A big player for them. Obviously, Frankie B, you know him from Luton. Scored lots of goals.
Loads of goals.
Quite sharp. And he's now got moved off. And obviously, we've seen Michael Keane as well. Someone who Everton spent, I think it's 25 million rising to 30 million.
30 mil, yep.
So you're talking about two key players in a Burnley side that, let's face it, last season, they beat Liverpool at home because they were stronger at home. They upset a few teams at home. But away from home, Burnley were absolutely shocking. And I actually see it going one way. I mean, I actually see this as 2-0, 3-0 Chelsea.
This one, do you know what? In light of them losing two of their key players, Keane and Andre Gray, I think it's going to be 2-0 to Chelsea. I think Morata will get off the mark. I think it's going to be one-sided.
I mean, as long as Morata doesn't take penalties, I think they'll be fine. You know who's better at taking penalties? Thibaut Courtois. That's what they should do. They should let Courtois take penalties.
If Courtois takes a penalty, though, you have to get the ball back, man. I don't know where the ball went.
Yeah, it's someone's garden. Someone's garden.
It's in chalk hill estate, mate. That's where it is.
Exactly.
MJ, we're going to move on to your team. Liverpool away to Watford, mate.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I'm actually heading over to Vicarage Road. Obviously, rumours today is that Barcelona have bid 90 million for Philippe Coutinho, and Liverpool have just rejected that. So, I mean, that's probably going to go on and on.
Do you know what, MJ? I would urge Barca to make an improved bid.
You would urge him to make... I would urge... to be honest, I would urge Barca to waste their time as well, because... I mean, he's going nowhere. So yeah, from a Liverpool point of view, so 125th year this season. The club have made so much noise. That's the reason why they wanted to give us some marquee signings. Two of them, Virgil van Dijk. They were going to give us Naby Keita. Nothing has happened. We've had Salah and no one else. I mean, Solanke, who's really good. But
Solanke's banging goals pre-season.
But basically, just like Jamie Carragher said, if they sold Philippe Coutinho, there would be an absolute riot. So yeah, because we're back in the Champions League, but we've got a very difficult draw against Hoffenheim, Roberto Firmino's former club. So yeah, but back to Vicarage Road. We're probably going to have to do it without Adam Lallana because he's out for 3 months. Philippe Coutinho has had a slight back injury. I hope he's not caught the same virus Alexis Sanchez has. So we don't know whether he's going to start or not.
Abdominal injury.
Exactly. Well, apparently they always say, the agent always tells the player to say it's a back injury. So it's always the injury of choice for someone who is around the transfer move, where as soon as they say, oh, I can't trade, boss, and when the boss says why, you go, oh, I've got a bad back. So it's kind of generally known in football. So Coutinho has a bad back. I'm not sure how true that is, but yeah, we play against Watford, and I think we've been in sparkling form because we've got this Champions League qualifier on Tuesday. We've really had to, we showed up earlier than everyone. We didn't lose any game apart from the penalty shootout when we played a weekend side against Atletico on penalties. Apart from that, we beat everyone we played pre-season. And yeah, we're looking quite sharp. So I see us going one way, going Liverpool 2-0.
Pascal, predictions for Liverpool's opening game away to Watford?
I believe that Liverpool will win quite emphatically, actually, against Watford. They've played some very good football in pre-seasons. In the Audi Cup, I saw them against Bayern Munich, the way they played, the way they controlled the game. It was almost a prequel to what could potentially happen in the Champions League. And Liverpool played like a team that were very comfortable, that were not fearful, that did not particularly felt that they were inferior to Bayern Munich. And to me, it's beginning to show that Jurgen Klopp is instilling his belief in the players and in the system that he has produced at Liverpool. And I can see that Liverpool will actually dominate the game from start to finish against Watford. And I'm sorry to say that to the Watson fans, to the Hornets, but I believe that it will be a disruption, and I can see 4 goals being scored on Saturday.
Past the move is the Liverpool groove.
Exactly. Well, there you go, mate. You know what? You might as well do the John Barnes rap after you finish. Because you're definitely on fire, Frankie. You're absolutely on fire today. So, I mean, how do you see this one going, Frankie?
Cool. Do you know what? I'm going to upset you. I'm going to say Watford are going to beat you 2-0. It's going to be courtesy of a guy that used to play my ends.
Your ends.
Andre Gray.
Well, Andre, like I said, I'll actually be attending the game, so I will be sending you videos when Liverpool are 4-0 up, and Pascal is absolutely right.
I'm telling you, they're going to beat you. This Coutinho thing is going to cloud the team's performance. Watford are going to be buoyed by the new striker they got. Wladimir is a beast up front.
Frankie B, I'm actually worried. I mean, the way you're saying all of this, you're actually getting too much delight in this. It's just gone completely dark. I'll definitely be watching my back from now on. So, definitely fun. This is not friend. This is fun.
Just moving on real quickly. 2 other games: City versus Brighton. Man City away to Brighton. Surely easy work, Pascal. Surely.
Well, you say that, but it's a Premiership new boys, playing against a well cemented and a well organized Manchester City. So I think that, Brighton will try the very best to entertain the crowd and to announce themselves into the Premier League. But I don't believe that they will win that game. I believe that Manchester City will prove to be better in the second half. If I was to do a prediction in terms of half-time, full-time prediction, I would probably say that the first half will be a draw, with Manchester City, applying themselves more pressure, taking the game to Brighton, and finishing them off, in the second half of the game. So I predict a cagey opener, but Manchester City to show their true talent and to show their superiority in terms of passing ability, technical ability, and defensively they've made some really good acquisitions. They got a much better goalkeeper, and they've got players who are also used to the Premiership now. I think that it's enough for Manchester City to secure a 3-point victory.
3 points. So the score? What score?
The score, I will go for a generous score. I'll go for 3-0 Manchester City.
3-0. MJ, quick prediction?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with everything you said. I totally agree. 3-0 is the prediction I'll go for. But I'll just say, typical Man City, they always get their first game of the season. Whether it was Burnley a few years back or West Brom, it's always the newly promoted side.
Easy game, innit?
This is going to be light work. So you can't only look one way, Man City. Having said that, a brief kind of, David Silva's haircut. He's gone totally bold this season. It looks like that boy means business. So that's why I'm lined up.
Trying to be hard, yeah?
Man City. The aerodynamics, he's gone bold.
Wow. Do you know, I think Man City are going to win 4-0. Jesus, you've got Jesus, Bernardo Silva as well. Mendy flying down one flank, Carl Walker on the other flank. Kevin De Bruyne, Aguero, mate, it's just too much, man.
I know. It's turning into like the all-star team now, isn't it? So.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a baptism of fire for Brighton. Believe that. Right, now finally, I have to do this. We have to talk about Spurs. Newcastle versus Spurs, up in Geordie land. Pascal, Spurs, no signings.
I'm going for the Magpies, as you not care. I'm going for the Magpies.
This is sounding very personal, Pascal.
I tell you for why. A big shout out to the women at Newcastle. I love you very much. And there will be a Pep Talk UK tour, and we'll be going to Newcastle as part of the tour of Pep Talk UK. But
Pep Talk Boys Tour, yeah.
Pep Talk Boys Tour, of course. Every Geordie woman is welcome. I've been longing for Newcastle to come back because, I've always enjoyed Newcastle. I've never quite, I always felt that they were big underachievers, in the Premier League. But they've got such fantastic support. St. James Park belongs in the Premier League, and it's such a refreshing, a joyous occasion to receive Newcastle back to where they belong, which is in the Premiership. So I expect a raucous occasion for the Geordie fans. They're very good fans. I've always enjoyed watching games at St. James Park, and I expect Newcastle to try the very best to welcome the new teams, the new supporters into a new season, and I will hope that they can inflict the pain on Spurs. Spurs have not done much in terms of business in the transfer market. They've sold some players, in Kyle Walker, but what they've done, they've retained the core of the team, which is just as important, to be fair. We've not heard many rumors, in the camp that could destabilize the morale of the team. So, we've got to give credit to Spurs and to the way that they're managing their off-field antics. They've done some really good management there. The management at Spurs is quite remarkable. So I expect it to be a very difficult game, for Newcastle. You know, it'll be interesting to see how Dele Alli and Harry Kane, whether they benefited from this summer break, you know, from not being in the press, for not being linked to any other team, might have allowed them to recharge themselves and to focus on the Premier League title. You know, is Pochettino quietly, you know, mounting title bid for himself and telling the players there's a chance that we can maybe win it this season? You know, I think it'll be a very competitive game. But Rafa Benitez, that old fox, you know, could potentially try and stifle, you know, Spurs, you know, title bid by perhaps fielding a team that can control the game, and I can see it going 2-2, you know.
2-2. Wait, MJ?
Yeah, I'll totally go 1-1, but I'll definitely say a draw. Just because Rafa Benitez is defensive, and he'll be defensive, and Spurs, they looked great against Juventus, but this is going to be away in Newcastle, and they'll probably nick a point.
Newcastle are going to win this game 1-0. The Spurs fans are going to be in panic stations. They're going to be cussing Daniel Levy. And I think the Raw, the Geordies, is going to really spare the Newcastle team on. It's going to be an interesting open day of the Premiership. Alright, that's our time, guys. I'd like to thank MJ, I'd like to thank Pascal, Umar Sadiq, and Petter Sugaroff. Join us again next week for another Pep Talk UK podcast.
That's what you can.